Hey everybody, it's Heidi Hope and it's FAQ Friday. Welcome to the HHP Studio. If you were over on Facebook yesterday, you may have saw behind the scenes of me painting our newest backdrop, little Cinderella Magic Kingdom action going on there. So I posted our call for questions this morning on Facebook, and Facebook no likey Google+. It was really sad. Nobody sees the call for questions unless we do some crazy amazing video. So we might try that next week, but otherwise you need to come over here to Google+ to find our call for questions, or make sure you check in with our Facebook page. Other than last Friday, we are going to be putting out a call for questions every single Friday unless I'm away. What was I doing last Friday that was so important? I was over in Seattle, other side of the country, teaching at the Cheek Retreat. It was such an amazing experience. I met so many other wonderful photographers. I loved every second of it, but I did miss all of you and our FAQ Friday, so I'm happy to be back. We have some great questions this week, despite only a few hundred people even seeing our post. And also, real quick, yesterday I had put out a little guessing game on our Facebook wall to try to visit our Pinterest board and guess what my painting was going to be of this one right here. And Ashley Shea was one of our correct guesses, and I just randomly picked her on random.org, and she is going to get a half-hour Skype mentoring session with me on Monday. So Ashley, make sure you email me, Heidi@HeidiHope.com, and we'll set that up. Okay, so let's get down to business this week. I would like to title this week's episode, Do As I Say and Not As I Do, because pretty much every answer to every question this week is an answer. You know, my advice for you would probably not be the way that I actually do it, but I promise to be honest with you all, so I'm going to tell you exactly how I do things and then tell you how you should do them instead. So let's start with Venus. Venus asks, do you use your histogram? I know that you work with white walls and curtains. Are there tips or tricks with using the histogram? I've been using the exposure through the viewfinder, and I'm noticing some hot spots on clients' faces. So I know it's time for the histogram, but it's a little bit intimidating. Any good books or the best way to learn the histogram? All right, Venus, this is an awesome question, and it's getting technical, which I love and hate at the same time. So first, let's talk about what a histogram is, and I even printed out a handy little visual this week. This is a histogram. A histogram is basically a little graph inside your computer that shows the exposure of your image. So all the way to the left side of your histogram is going to be all your shadows, and all the way to the right side of your histogram is going to be all of your highlights. And hopefully this isn't backwards. I feel like it looks backwards to me, but so when you look at your histogram, you're able to tell if the exposure of your image falls within the dynamic range of your image sensor. Now, every camera is a little bit different. Usually an image sensor is going to be able to pick up 5 stops of dynamic range within the exposure, and then anything outside of that is the shadows would be underexposed and the highlights would be overexposed. And I think the human eye picks up 10 stops, but don't quote me on that. So, so you can, while you're shooting, if you want to see if your image is falling within the proper range of exposure, you can pull up your handy little Instagram, same thing, histogram, and you can find out if you have exposed your image properly. If you have a lot of little bars over here in the highlights and things going all the way up to that edge, then you may have areas of your image that are overexposed. If you have too much over on this side of the histogram, then you may have an image that's underexposed, or areas of your image that are underexposed. Now, the thing with the histogram is there's no really right or wrong answer. So if you had an average scene that had average highlights, midtones, and shadows, this is exactly or similar to what your histogram would look like, sort of an even spreading over the entire histogram. Now, my histograms never look like that. My histograms look more like this, where everything, and hopefully this is showing up right, everything is way over on the highlight end of things, because I shoot really high-key, overexposed images. I'm often backlighting, and when you have backlighting, usually the background's blown out in certain areas, so you're going to see a lot of stuff like this. Now, for an average scene, this would be a wrong, but my scenes are all very light and bright and airy. So basically, I can't trust my histogram at all, because if I did, I would always underexpose my images for what I really wanted. That makes sense? Same thing if you're shooting on black. If you're shooting on a black background, your histogram might look like this with all of the bars over in the shadow area. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong, because your skin tones could be over here. It's just most of the rest of the image is down here. So I might get in trouble for saying this, but you don't really have to use your histogram unless you want to use it as like checking over your exposure, or if you really don't know how to nail your exposure manually. Then your histogram can become a tool to help show you, like, yes, most of this image is in the bright range. Yes, most of this image is in the dark range. But you have to also know how to interpret that and apply it to the scene. Couple other examples. If you're shooting out in the snow, your histogram is going to be all the way over on the bright side because there's a lot of white in that image. Anything backlit, most of my studio shots. So basically, I don't trust my histogram, and I don't really look at it a whole lot. I really use my eyes to judge the exposure on the back of my camera, and I'm so familiar with my camera and the scenes that I shoot within that I'm really good at judging. I'm also never exposing for the histogram. I'm exposing for my subject's skin tone. So I'm not paying that much attention to if the background's blown out or not, or what I care about is their face. Is their face perfectly exposed? So you mentioned having some little hot spots on the subject's face. That really, your histogram isn't going to, I mean, your histogram might say, yes, there is an area of this image that is overexposed, but it's not really going to help you solve that problem unless you change your lighting. So the hot spots on the face are really because the lighting is too harsh in that area. So you can move your subject further away from the light source. You can try to turn them so that the light source is behind them if you're outdoors in natural light. If you have shade filtering through trees, that's a lot of times when you'll get little hot spots. You know, if we are shooting in the studio and the subject's too close to the window, maybe the side of the face gets a little overexposed when I'm exposing for the rest of the skin tones. So a simple answer would be pull them away from the light source. Hotspots are really more due to your lighting situation. And yes, your histogram might point them out to you, but if you have something else in your scene that's overexposed, like the windows or the white background, your histogram's not really going to tell you. Another thing that you can do with many cameras is actually see the RGB channels within your histogram. So if you want to learn your histogram more, get more specific, and you're worried about those skin tones, you can actually isolate the red channel by itself and look at the histogram of just your red channel. And since most skin tones fall within red and not green or blue, as long as you're color balanced correctly, you could see by looking at the red channel of your histogram, okay, are my skin tones in the getting a little bit too high? That can also point you in the right direction. But again, there are no hard, fast rules for your histogram. Understanding it is really just like another level of information that can help inform your overall exposure. But trust what your eyes are telling you. If you've got a hot spot, move your subject. Get them into a better lighting situation. Okay, so I hope that helps. All right, let's go to question number 2. Whew, that was just so much technical information there. Okay, Sarah asks, how do you share responsibilities and duties of the business with your husband? Did you ever have to show him everything, or was he pretty natural at figuring it all out? Me and my husband decided he would help me with some of the business so that we can grow it and still be home raising our children. I would love for him to deal with the finances and emails, all the things I don't love, and he's pretty good at. Any advice, tips, or programs that help you and your husband deal with the business side of things? Thanks so much. Sarah, this is a great question, and it's a question Sean and I get a lot because most people look at us and they're like, wow, you guys run a business together and you're still married? I know, it's kind of crazy. So here's my general advice. We each have our own tasks within the business, and we try to kind of stay out of each other's way. So Sean really manages the financial end of things, the bookkeeping, the sales, all of that type of stuff. And I manage more of like the creative side of things, marketing, the photography, obviously, and the teaching now. But some of our areas do overlap. I never had to show Sean the business side of things because that was his background. So he has a degree in finance, and he was a bank manager and worked with investments and retirement, all that good stuff. So he really loves that stuff. For example, we use QuickBooks for our accounting, and when every month he balances the QuickBooks, and you can hear him cheering from his office when it comes out to 0 and it's all equal, exactly down to the penny. He goes, to the penny! So he really likes the financial stuff. I don't get that excited about the financial stuff, so I let him just do his thing. And I don't bother him with a lot of the photography related stuff. So I didn't really have to show him much. He does do the sales though, and so he did have to learn a little bit about photography itself and the product, and he does kind of the quality control on the products. So things like making sure images were exposed properly and that nothing was blown out and there was no like funky color stuff going on. He really had to train his eye for that kind of stuff because he had no artistic background whatsoever. But he's so used to doing it day in and day out, and he really loves that element of it now too. So I always joke when he sees a picture and he's like, wow, that's great negative space. And I'm like, great negative space, that's an art term there. So yeah, and he needs to constantly show me all of the financial side of things. Like when he starts talking to me about our retirement, my eyes just glaze over. I'm like, huh? So we both have our areas of strength. As far as programs, we're pretty simple. We use QuickBooks for accounting. We use a folder system for our clients' information, and this is somebody else's question too, so I'll just talk about it now. And we also use Studio Cloud as a studio management software, but really all we've done with Studio Cloud so far is put all of our info from our folders into Studio Cloud, but we don't really use it that much. We kind of still use our folders. I don't know. It's just we're really set in our ways. We're so bad with changing our ways. So that's that. Well, let me just make sure this doesn't fall asleep. Okay. Great question, Sarah. Thank you. All right. Karen asks, hi, Heidi. I missed you last week. Hope the cheek retreat was fab. It was fab. Do you offer just digital packages for your clients? Right now, I only offer digitals as an add-on to my better packages, but so many people ask me for just the digitals, and I'm debating what to do. Also, okay, wait, separate this. Let's go with question number 1 first. So digitals, we do offer digital images. We offer just a disc, which comes with all the 5x7 prints because we want them to have at least something tangible when they offer the disc. But really, cost-wise, it's so much more value for people to order our collections. So our collections also include digitals, either 10 digitals or all the digitals, and that seems to, they get a lot more product with that, like wall art and cards, and the clients who come to us, they really want that stuff. That's what they're hiring us for, because a lot of studios in our area don't offer all of those things. So we really create a custom experience and custom artwork for our clients. Most people leave with that, but there is an option for just the disc. It's just the way that that disc is priced, there's not as much value in just the disc as there is with all the products. And we really believe so much in the value of the products after the session, because I'm just like the average consumer, and I would buy all the digitals because I'd be like, I'm gonna make some albums, and I'm gonna do a wall display in my living room, and I'm gonna print this stuff out for the grandparents, and then guess what I do? I put the disc in a drawer and I don't print anything out. I haven't even printed half of my own images because I need someone to do that for me. So that is a service we provide at our studio. We know that our clients are busy. We know they have a lot going on. So we make sure not only do we capture those beautiful images, but then we hold their hand through the whole rest of the process to make sure that they can enjoy those images every single day after their session with us. Okay, and then the second question was the super adorable pink cameras that were part of our swag at the Cheek Retreat. Those are from Fuji made them, and they're really awesome. They're like little Polaroids, so they print out the images right after you shoot them. So much fun. Okay. Another question from Karen. She also asks, do you use a professional styler or shopper for your outfit consults? I love the last few sessions. No, we do not use a styler. We do pre-session consultations, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, to plan wardrobe with our clients, and we just kind of give them advice, but honestly, our clients have a really good taste, and they pick out their wardrobe, and we try to work our sets and our shooting around their wardrobe choices, because these images are going to be images hung on their walls forever, so we want them to pick out things that really fit their style, not necessarily what our choices would be, although they all have great taste, so we usually have a pretty fabulous session. Okay, Jackie asks, how do you style your session with your client? Oh, do you do an in-person consultation or an email or phone conversation, and how far in advance do you book? So we book sessions pretty far in advance, especially newborn sessions. We have newborn sessions already booking into October and November right now. But our other sessions don't book as far in advance. They're not as time sensitive, and we don't sell out of them as quickly. After a client books a session with us, which could be anywhere from 2 weeks before the session to, a year before the session for our baby planners, we just schedule an in-person or over-the-phone pre-session consultation, which takes place about 2 weeks before the session. So we touch base with them, and we go over wardrobe choice, and we go over what they have in mind for the session, and if it's a cake smash, or if we're doing something custom, like this fabulous backdrop here, we sort that all out in their pre-session consultation, and that gives us some time to plan the session before they come in. But we don't do it too far in advance because we forget and they forget, and we write everything down, but most parents forget, things change. Who knows 6 months down the road what you're going to want and what new clothes are going to be out, and why buy 5 wardrobes. Okay, great question, Jackie. Thank you. And our last questions of the week are from Christy, and she says, she asks, for your experience, do you have any ideas or suggestions for using Mother's Day as an opportunity to show appreciation to your clients? Yes, 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 Christy. Mother's Day is a great time to do that. And we're a family-centered business, so moms are so important to us. I think they do the hardest job in the world, and we always want to make them feel special. So it depends, it comes at a busy time of year for us. This year especially is really busy in May for us. So we're not doing a big event, but you can definitely use Mother's Day to market your business. And in the past we have done, this year we ended up doing something at Valentine's Day instead because it was a little slower for us. But in the past, we have done a Mother's Day special, which was just a party for our clients, and they could come and get mommy and me pictures. You could do some sort of a giveaway or a promotion on social media. You could just share your favorite mommy and baby pictures. I think the ideas are endless to kind of tie that in. So even just like offering a discount on your gift certificates, because that would make a really great Mother's Day gift. There are so many things you could do to honor moms on that special day. And I totally encourage you to do that. I think that's a great idea. You also ask, what do you use for a client database? And we already touched on that. And do you need to expressly ask clients to add them to the database rather than just inputting their information? So my suggestion for this is, you can put all their information into your database, but I would not add them to an email list without asking them. So that would be the only thing I would say get their permission for. Obviously, they're giving you all their contact information to use within your business. I just would never give that information away to anybody else, and I would not email them without them actually opting into your email newsletter list. Because it's just bad business to do those things. So get their permission to be on your email list. You want to know if they actually want to receive your newsletters or not. And then never give that information away. Make sure you store it in a secure place. But other than that, I think it's totally fine to enter all their info into your database so that you can have it in a nice, organized way. So thank you all so much for joining me this week. We'll be back next week for another FAQ Friday. Remember to look for the call for questions every Friday. And you can check out the behind the scenes of this backdrop, and also a bunch of new designs are going to be released through Photo Prop Floors and Backdrops. And don't forget to head on over to our new learning blog, where you can sign up for our learning newsletter, which will be going out every Monday with a little motivation and inspiration and like all of the happenings of our studio. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Bye.